It is time now for our Sunday Stand, where we hear from someone who thinks that they're right about something the rest of us just haven't woken up to yet. Sharia law, to many, conjures up images of barbaric justice, amputations, stonings, beheadings. Happily, Sharia courts in our country don't go in for that kind of thing. They're commonly tribunals for resolving disputes about property or marriage. But a bill before the House of Lords says we still need to protect women from the powers of Sharia courts. That, says Minette Marin, is just pussyfooting around. In her view, Sharia should not be a law in this land. Here's her Sunday Stand.
Sharia courts are unacceptable in this country and should be banned. In Sharia courts, women's evidence is less valuable than men's. They can't be judges. They have fewer rights over divorce, over property, over inheritance, and even over the custody of their own children. In some countries, Sharia law hands out cruel and barbaric punishments, like stoning people to death for adultery or amputation for theft. We don't have legalised stonings or amputations in this country, but we do have Sharia courts, which are trying to impose a system of law which is institutionally sexist and unequal. That's illegal in this country. It's unacceptable, or it should be. Our law is the expression of all that's best about our culture, and it's what makes this country a tolerant and civilised place to live. That's why there's no place for any other kind of law in this country, whether it's Islamic law, Jewish law, Mormon, Druid or Wiccan law. And it's why it's important to make a stand against people who are trying to make Sharia courts more and more acceptable here.
Well, if you've got a webcam, you can make your point on Skype this morning. You can join the conversation on Twitter, on phone, you can text us, you can email us. All the details are on the screen. We've said goodbye to Bob for just a moment, but Anna Khan joins us now, a family lawyer who specialises in Sharia law. Anna, welcome to Sunday Morning Live. You heard Minette's arguments. Do you support a system which discriminates against women?
Plainly, I'm a woman and I wouldn't do that. I'm a solicitor specialising in family law, English family law, and it's only by women clients asking me for an alternative solution to the huge expense of English justice, which is very, very delayed in the family courts, very expensive and acrimonious. They want to have an alternative.
So do you charge less money for doing Sharia?
Lawyers charge money for everything, I'm afraid.
No, so if you're doing Sharia law, would you, so it'd be the same hourly rate?
It's the same hourly rate.
Oh, well, you're bound to love it, aren't you then?
I'm bound to want to have less of the fights in court so I can help those people who really need me.
Are you suggesting it's a more cooperative, consensual sort of form of justice?
That's the aim of it. Of course, when emotions are heightened, nothing ever works out like that. It can be highly acrimonious. I'm all for alternative legal systems, and the government is pushing mediation because we just have a family system which is at breaking point. We can't deal with any more cases the way they are now. OK,
so Minette, the court system, the justice system already clogged up. This is a form of the big society, you might say. It's an alternative form, and it's a more consultative form of justice.
Well, on the first point, the courts are indeed clogged up and very expensive, but we already have arbitration and mediation under English law and indeed under Scottish law. You can go to that. You don't need special Islamic or Jewish or other religious arbitration bodies. There's no need for that. And if they, insofar as they accord with British law, English law rather, they are completely redundant, and insofar as they don't, they're undesirable.
I actually think it's the thin end of the wedge, really. You know, I mean, what's the point of a Sharia court? You know, people live in this country.
Yes, why do you
discuss
you know,
that first?
There's nothing to stop, you know, Muslims, you know, advising Muslims and all the rest of it. But I'm kind of a bit tired of hearing about it.
Yeah. Can I explain
what's the big special? Well, I'll tell you why I think first.
Yeah, go on.
I think Sharia law is being brought in certain communities to stop the spotlight being shone on those communities for the fact that they oppress their women. End of.
Anna?
And I'll explain why the reality is rather than the media speculation.
I'm telling you what the reality is I've grown up with and I've seen.
The media loves black and white headlines. The reality is my clients are majority women, so 90% of them are asking for these solutions. The men are often against Sharia solutions. It's not in their interest. And it's simply this. Minette is right. You've got mediation, and the mature Muslim community does have trained Muslim mediators that they can turn to. It's not for that. Primarily, it's for women seeking divorces. Jewish women going to the Beth Din, and Muslim women going to the Sharia Council. They're self-appointed. They're not courts. Nobody's given them any power.
Their marriages aren't recognised as marriages under Sharia law. So why on earth would you go and get divorced under Sharia law? If you want to get divorced, you get divorced under English law.
It's emotional blackmail from the family. Listen, I grew up in an area, with kids who were Pakistani, and I can tell you this about them, right? First of all, none of them really wanted to marry the cousins. They did not want to have arranged marriages. They did not want to have half of the stuff that was forced on them in their life,
and they wanted custody of their children,
forced on
inheritance.
them. Now, Sharia law is great. If you are that religious, you want to do that, you can live your life by Sharia law. You can abide by it. I do not want any of my tax money going to pay for a law which to me is outdated. I think no matter what is wrong with our law system,
money paying for it.
Well,
it doesn't, does it?
Who's going to pay for
it's an alternative
hang on a minute.
System.
Who's going to be paying for the kind of mosques, all the different? I mean, when you get
leaving aside the question of taxpayers' money, which I think is a red herring, the single one point is that we should resist at every level a different parallel system of law which does not accord with English law in many important ways, creeping in either by the back door or through the front door. And what I would like to say is that in a recent poll, something like 65% of British Muslims would like to see Sharia law here for everything. So it is actually...
disagree with that, Paul. That's a very
I think one needs to resist the introduction of any other law into this country other than our own.
I will carry on that one, because I don't think the majority of Muslims want Sharia law. The majority of Muslims want English law, as I do, but we want solutions which work for us under both.
And
it's very possible to have...
Sorry, Terry, I just...
Thin end of the wedge.
Okay.
Not true.
Thin end of the wedge.
Not true at all.
In
the
poll result that I have...
That's how I feel. That's how a lot of people feel.
Can I just mention this poll result that I have here? 40% of Muslims want Sharia law in this country. Catherine Heseltine joins us, and you got a divorce in this country. No, that's Catherine Wakeling from Christian Concern, and I hope we can get Catherine Heseltine up. Are we able to? There she is. Thank you very much. Muslim Public Affairs Committee. We got you eventually, Catherine. What was the benefit of getting a divorce in this country in a Sharia council?
It was actually a lot more straightforward, less time-consuming, less stressful, less expensive than the process of getting a divorce through British law, which I also did. And to me, the important thing to emphasise is about choice. As a Muslim woman, I appreciate people's concern, but I don't need anyone else to decide what's best for me. If it's my choice to go to a council, which is not a court replacing British law, it's simply a way of being able to go through that process of getting the divorce that I wanted.
Catherine, can I interrupt and ask you a quick question? Can I just ask you, I know that in the divorce that you had, were both parties agreeable at the time?
Yeah, it was myself that wanted it, but my husband did agree to that. So then it was a straightforward, simple process.
Well, but for Catherine, it's different because most of the Muslims in this country, are like Pashto and Pakistani. They will marry the cousins, so they are not. It's a different thing. So there's a lot of emotional blackmail. There's a lot of let's keep this within the family group. Let's use Sharia law there to stop what's coming out. So
Catherine?
Catherine isn't typical, really, of Muslims in the country.
I would say that just because I'm white doesn't mean that...
No, you're atypical, that's what I'm saying.
Or from a different background. Those women are also capable of making their own choices.
Yeah, but they will be forced by society, by their cousins, their brothers. They will be forced to go to Sharia law instead of English law. Over domestic violence cases as well.
The whole principle of Islamic law is that you have to consent.
What?
So cannot be forced.
But it's the same with our law.
Say why Caroline
anyone can arbitrate.
Brought this bill up.
Protects them.
The reason that Caroline Cox has brought this bill up in the House of Lords is because she and others have had so many cases, no doubt a minority of people, but a significant number of women who have been abused one way or another in the sort of way you're describing. And they haven't consented, and worse still, unlike you, they're not well informed about their rights, and they're quite often bamboozled about their rights, and claims are made by people around them that the Sharia court has more legal force than actually it does. That's why her bill seeks, among other things, to make it a crime to pretend a Sharia court has legal force where it doesn't.
Anna?
First of all, I totally agree with that. As a lawyer, do not call them courts. They have no enforcement powers, so how can they be a court? They're councils set up about 30 years ago because of public demand by women who wanted a divorce. So it's as simple as that what are we going to do about those women who are chained in marriages? Terry, do you not feel sorry for those women who can't get divorced?
I don't feel sorry.
You just want to just throw them aside?
I just think that what's been happening, you know, with Sharia law, it might be great, you know, if you're a Muslim, keep it to yourself, keep it in your home.
Oh, then those poor women are written off by you.
Well, no, they're not at all, because
them.
there is British law, and no matter what you talk...
Why
it
don't
doesn't
they have
dissolve
recourse
the Muslim marriage.
Of course
it doesn't dissolve the Muslim marriage. Now, there's a debate which says...
Wait a minute. You can get divorced in Islam, right, legally, so you can get divorced in Britain legally.
No, please listen to me. If you have an Islamic marriage, you may never be validly recognised under English law.
So you have to go to a Sharia council. So you have to have your
Islamic divorce in order to remarry.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying to you, listen to the rights of women.
I want to talk to Mufti Barkatullah, who you are a Sharia judge. One of the criticisms is that women are discriminated against under this system of law. Is women's evidence in a Sharia court or council worth that of men's?
Yes, in family matters, really there is a misunderstanding. In family matters and in personal matters, their evidence is equal to men. And the fact that Sharia councils users, 90% of them are women, it demonstrates that it is their choice, really. Sharia is not forced down anybody's throat, really.
What do you, what's your response then to the claim by some that Sharia is in some ways discriminatory? I mean, for instance, what does Sharia say about homosexuality?
I mean, this type of cases is beyond jurisdiction of, you know, the criminal code is, criminal Sharia law is out of the question in the Western Hemisphere anyway. So to bring the criminal code into the question is very, really confusing the argument. We are just talking about simple interpersonal relationship, which is marriage, which is sanctified under the religious institutions.
But can I press
having cases of domestic violence been brought to Sharia courts?
Isn't it also custody of children?
I think would be happy to know that most of the Sharia councils, not the Sharia courts, they do not decide about the children and the property. They do advise, and in my Sharia council, we do not hear any case unless they apply to the civil court also.
And what about domestic violence cases? You know, because often, you know, it's certainly, you know, within the Islamic community, the women aren't encouraged to go to the police as such. And if they do go to the police, say, no, come on, we'll sort it out at a Sharia court.
I don't think so. What is happening that if there is any domestic violence recorded against any woman, their case in the Sharia councils becomes very easy. If there is a police reference, we take it seriously into account and grant them divorce based on the domestic violence.
That's my experience.
Anna,
going to the police actually helps your case. You can get a divorce within 3 months with the Sharia Council. And why aren't you using every law that can protect you as a woman? You should be getting an injunction. You should be going to the police. You have to make sure you stand up for your rights. And I'm saying use whatever jurisdiction you can.
Well, the problem is, and why this law exists, is first of all that the councils, as you call them, or courts, are overriding their proper limits. And secondly, that a great many women who are at risk are women who are not very well informed. They don't know very much. They're easily misled. They may not speak much English. They may not have been in this country very long.
Okay. You can carry on that debate online if you